We get trapped in that vicious cycle of constantly trying to get better, trying to heal, and getting complacent, relapsing, and then going back into old habits. And that cycle continues. But when we find a community, it can be the path to surround ourselves with the support, encouragement, and accountability that we need to succeed. And they will give us the tools to succeed as well.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Flow Over Fear and Three Things. And today I want to talk about something that comes up a lot in this show. Not just because I bring it up a lot, because I do. It's something that I value a lot and something that has helped me to succeed, but also because my guests bring it up a lot as well, and attribute this to the reason that they're successful and were able to rise above fear and achieve the incredible results that they do. And that is community. And the communities that we're a part of, the communities that we serve, the communities that encourage us and support us, those communities are what can help us succeed. And I want to talk about the three things to look for in a community, which is in the direction of where you want to go. When I was younger, and I don't know why this is, but before I learned about the power of communities, I tended to want to go things alone. And to an extent, because I don't know what it was, because I just had a stubborn power of will or what have you, I tended to do okay on my own in some regards, but I didn't do great on teams. Like when I played baseball or when I played sports, I was often picked last for sports when I was a kid. When I was a wee lad, I tended to be picked last for ball sports. So I wasn't very good at ball sports, and I wasn't very good at team sports, though I continued to try to play baseball for some reason that I still don't understand. I wasn't very good at it, and I didn't really have a lot of the respect for the team. And a lot of the reason was because I didn't add a lot of value because I wasn't very good. And so I ended up in my high school baseball team sitting the bench and for a team that went 0-10 that season, which was awesome. But anyway, I learned that like things like playing the cello or things that I could do on my own, I excelled at. But even in those instances, I still had a sense of community. Like playing the cello, I had a mentor, I had a teacher, and that held me accountable. But even starting off in, but even trying to get like when I kind of advanced in my life, I realized that when I did things alone, or I tried to heal alone, or tried to improve myself alone, I never really got any better. This happened with sobriety. I would attempt to white knuckle it and stay sober when I felt like I had to stop drinking. And when I did that alone, when I didn't want to go to a community or admit to anybody that I had this problem or approach it vulnerably, what would happen is I would variably relapse once the discomfort went away and I started to get comfortable again, or once I started to, comfort is not the right word, but once the pain of whatever it was that pushed me towards that brief moment of sobriety went away, I started the discomfort of being sober crept in again, and I would invariably go out and drink because I didn't have support. And the same thing happened kind of early in triathlon is I don't know if you can relate, but if you've ever wanted to start something new and you've had zero experience with it, um, there's an embarrassment that is accompanied with that. Whether it's starting a new fitness program, walking into a gym for the first time, or you know, or starting a business, or admitting that you want to get started in investing in something, there's a certain embarrassment because you haven't done it yet. I certainly felt that way when I first wanted to start doing triathlon. And by this time, I had already gotten sober. I was a year sober. And so I'd found the community of sobriety worked for me. I was willing to risk the embarrassment of admitting my alcoholism or my addiction to people in the AA community. And that helped me to get sober, but it still didn't sink into my really, really thick head that maybe I should do this with something like triathlon instead as well. No, by that time, I still felt that I had to go it alone, to the extent where I was embarrassed even to walk into a bike shop and ask them if they would take my money and hand me a bike. That was a really, really difficult thing for me to do. That's where fear showed up for me at that time. But surprisingly, despite that fact that I didn't lean into support early on in triathlon, I had some early success there. I had some early help, and it was all because I found a coach, and I eventually leaned into a community of support that worked for me. And it turns out that community is one of the most powerful ways in which we can rise above our fears, whether it be in a healing pursuit like getting sober, or getting support for grief, or whatever it may be in that healing effort. Community is there. Or if it's for an empowerment type of activity, something that we want to improve ourselves, whether that be a fitness venture or a business venture. There are communities out there that can help us. And one of the things it takes for us to get there is vulnerability. We have to be first vulnerable and willing to set foot into that community and risk the embarrassment, risk being new to it. That's one of the biggest fears we face. And it's a weird fear, but I relate to it because I've had that where it's just like, I have no business being here and I'm going to be laughed out of the room. When in reality, that's not the case at all within the right type of community. So the first thing I want to say to you with regard to community is risk the embarrassment, risk it with the right community, and take that step forward with vulnerability and honesty and openness, and start your journey toward what you want to become in the right community. So how do you choose the right community? Well, there's really three things to look for in a community, and there's probably a lot more, but I want to touch on these three because they're really, really important. And if you can find a community that is like this, that has these three things, you can effectively give yourself the chance to become that person. Once you join a community, you can become part of the community. And it doesn't take long for that to happen. You simply identify as you simply welcome in and you become part of the community. The problem is we feel reluctant to join because of that embarrassment, or because we feel like we're not enough to be there yet, simply because of fear. We're afraid to join those communities. And when we don't join, when we fail to step foot in that, we get trapped in stuck. We get trapped in that vicious cycle of constantly trying to get better, trying to heal, and getting complacent, relapsing, and then going back into old habits. And that cycle continues. But when we find a community, it can be the path to surround ourselves with the support, encouragement, and accountability that we need to succeed. And they will give us the tools to succeed as well. And there's a process. So three things that we can look for in a community. First is that it's a like-minded community. And when I say like-minded, it's not just that they have the material possessions that you want. if you're looking to be a triathlete, it's not enough that you just look for a triathlon club, because there are thousands of triathlon clubs out there. But niche it down into what do you want. There are specific types of clubs for different people. There are high there are high performance teams out there that are looking to podium. There are beginner teams out there that are trying to help others to come into the sport. Where are you at? Where are your values shaped? When you look for those communities, niche down into the values that you have so that they have it there. And this is vitally important with things like investing or healing or anything like that, because having a community that is trustworthy, that is aligned with your values, and that you can just generally trust is so vital to success. So niche down into your values, into something that's like-minded. What are your values? What do you value? What do they value? For example, there are a lot of investing communities out there that their primary goal is to make money on certain things no matter what. There's not really an element of community support or encouragement. It's just, how can I make, this much money and that's it? Well, really, is that a strong community that's going to give you what you need in that essence? Is it going to be aligned with your values? Is it aligned with service or anything like that? Not necessarily. So find those communities that are not only chasing the same things that you have, meaning that people in there are pursuing the same goals that you have and the same desires, but that they are also sharing similar values. And that's a good way to find a true community, is to look at it as a tribe. Tribes share a similar culture. Tribes, or a tribe is a single culture. It's all aligned toward the same goal, and it's encouraging and supportive, and it has the right balance of people. And so look for those kinds of things when you're looking for a community. And the second thing you want to find in a community where you're trying to build yourself up is mentorship. I found this very early on in my sobriety when I finally made the commitment to find that community of sobriety. In AA, when I found my first sponsor, I found a person who had exactly what I wanted. Again, not the physical things that this person had, not the possessions, but really the mindset, the lifestyle, the satisfaction, the fulfillment in life. I remember, he didn't drive a fancy car. He didn't, have a lot of stuff. He was just a really genuinely happy person who had the attitude and the outlook that I wanted. And when I saw that, I wanted him to be a mentor to me. And he in turn was willing to be of service to me, as long as I was willing to do the work and be of service as I went forward. It's a give and take on that front. And even if you feel like you don't have the ability to serve yet, if you want that mentorship, ask how you can support that person, or ask how you can support the community in any way. And so you're going to have to give some time to creating that. But mentorship is one of those key points, and looking for somebody that truly has what you want, an attitude, an outlook, and that has met the goals that you would like to see. That's what you want to look for. And the final piece of what you want to look for in a community is another important one, because and that is that it thrives on value addition from its members. In other words, a lot of communities out there, a lot of groups may simply exist as what can I get kind of groups. Meaning you go in there and you're asking yourself, what can I get from this group? I want to learn from these people. I want to make more money. I want to get this from them. I want to get that. And if everybody goes into that group with a I want to get attitude, then there's going to be nobody giving value. And when nobody's giving value, there's no value to be taken. So when there's no value to be taken, what's the purpose of the group? So the point is that there is a give and take in that group, that there is a requirement, or that the group thrives on value addition from its members, meaning that the same people who are participating in that learning from the group or are also participating in the value creation. Take, for example, a triathlon club. If you have a club that is training together, you may have a club that puts on an event, and they all come out to cheer everybody else on, and they give support to one another. They have people from that triathlon club working the aid stations. They have them running the finish line. And not just participating in the race, because if everybody was participating in the race, then there would be nobody to support the cause. So they have that level of support for one another. And the same is true for any kind of mastermind group. Is there's requirements usually that they meet some kind of service obligation, like that or value obligation, that they want you to train in that group. So what kind of value can you bring to this community? And don't immediately default to what your brain is telling you at this moment, which is, I can't bring any value to this group, because you can. Every person can. Even if you're starting from scratch, from the bottom, what toilets can you clean? I mean, that's kind of an analogy, but it's also kind of true. What service can you add to start? And before you know it, you will be adding service to the new members in the way that you want to serve. But those are the three powerful elements that you can look for in a community: is finding a group that is like-minded, that shares your values, that includes mentorship, that has people that have what you want, and that thrives on value addition from its members. If you can find something as powerful as that, you're on the path to achieving what you want to achieve. It doesn't mean that you're not going to fail at times, because you're going to have setbacks. But here's the beautiful thing about failing when you're in a community, is the community is there to lift you up, to support you, to walk with you through those failures, so that you can learn from them and keep going and find the success. Because remember, if you've learned anything from this show and any of my guests here, it's that failure is definitely not the end. Failure is just a step in the right direction a lot of times. But if you could fail your way forward, you will find success. You do that in a community. Most importantly, what you will find, one of the biggest payoffs from finding a community like this with these three elements, is that you'll build long-term relationships with people that love you, that support you, that encourage you, and that you in turn can lift up as well. That's the most powerful thing that can exist in this world, and this is those powerful and wonderful relationships. So if you're looking for a community, look for those three things. And until next time, thank you for joining me on this episode of Flow Over Fear. We'll talk to you soon. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.